excited to introduce Ben Felton. So Ben is the world's fastest blind man on a motorcycle, and just let that sink in for a moment. The team and I were first introduced to Ben through Bernie Felton, our strategic advisor and mentor. Ben came to the workshop and shared his incredible story with us, and I'm really looking forward to you all hearing it from him. And the team now has a new appreciation for the small things in life, but also a newly found motivation and can-do attitude. So Ben, I'll hand the mic over to you, mate. Tell us more about you and your awesome journey.
Thank you, Brad, and hello, everybody. My dream as a boy was to race motorcycles at the highest level, and I was fortunate enough to ride around as a young fellow on trail bikes and motocross, and got into road racing. But when I was at the age of about 16 years old, I was out riding my trail bike down a fire trail one night. I didn't have a headlight on, of course, things we do when we're young and silly. So riding down this fire trail, went under a canopy of trees, and all of a sudden the trees blocked out the moonlight and I couldn't see where I was going, and I crashed into a tree and I had concussion. And so the next day I went to told my mum that I fell over and I had hurt my nose and had a bit of concussion. So I went to the doctors and they noticed some pigment in the back of my eyes. So the diagnosis was that I have an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, and I was told I was going to go blind. Now that was quite a shock as a young guy, and however, my eyesight was still exceptionally good at that stage. So I did go and eventually get my rider's license and driver's license, and I continued to race motorcycles in road racing, and then got into drag racing. And when I was about 25 years old, my eyesight had started to deteriorate from the outside in, and it gradually started. When it got to about 160 degrees of vision, I decided that that was time for me to give up racing and riding and driving on the road. So my dreams and hopes and aspirations had all ended. But thankfully, due to blind sport, I had an opportunity to row for Australia and compete at many world rowing championships. And then when I retired from rowing, I then became a member of the Australian blind cricket team for about 10 years. And on my last tour, I was touring the West Indies as a member of the Australian blind cricket team. And at the end of that tour, I realized that I didn't have the speed and agility I once had. So I ended up buying myself a bottle of rum and guava juice, walked down to the beach. And you can imagine this is on the island of Barbados in the Caribbean, sat under a coconut palm, and I contemplated my future. Being a person that's goal driven, I thought I need a new sporting goal. And I sat back and I thought about, what am I going to do after I retire from blind cricket? And the first thought that came to my mind was, well, Ben, you've always wanted to race motorcycles. And that was my childhood dream. And I thought, oh, you can't do that. You're blind. Anyway, after a couple of rum and guava juices, I thought, you know what? I reckon I can do this. I just have to find a technological solution on how I'm going to navigate the motorcycle. So when I got home from the West Indies, first thing I did was I Googled blind land speed record, and I discovered that there was a Guinness World Record for the fastest motorcycle ridden blindfolded, held by Billy Baxter of the UK, and he set a record at 265 kilometers an hour. So that became my mission. And in 2018, it took me 5 years, 4 attempts, but eventually I achieved the land speed record with the support of Kevin McGee, former MotoGP racer, as my navigator, and a guy called Paul Simpson, who was a radio communications engineer. And we established the new world record for the fastest speed for a motorcycle ridden blindfolded at 200 and, just under 270 kilometers per hour. So to achieve a lifetime dream was awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Ben. Gives me chills every time I hear it. And I'm sure a lot of you will have questions. So feel free, as we're going through this session, to just type your questions in the chat feature. So that way we can get them answered at the end. But one thing I want to talk about is, when I first heard about how Ben navigated the world record ride, my mind was just absolutely blown. So we're about to share a video, GoPro video off the bike. So we'll get that up. and it should be playing shortly.
So
Here we go.
yeah.
Zoom meeting. Stop my video. Alt plus D button to activate. Press space bar.
Awesome, that's playing now.
So this is a GoPro video from Kevin McGee's bike, who's behind me, and he's communicating me with the UHF radio. Go, 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 left, right. That's wheel spin on the salt at 250 kilometers an hour. It's pretty awesome stuff, Brad, to ride a motorcycle, totally blind, can't see where you're going, having to rely on someone else. It still gives me adrenaline rush every time.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe if you just want to touch a little bit about, the different checkpoints along the way, and, what you're hearing through the intercom. So, you know how you're tracking.
Yeah, so my first land speed record attempt was on an airport runway, but that proved to be quite a dangerous place to do it. And eventually we discovered that there was the Dry Lake Races Australia hold an annual event called at Speedwick on the Salt Lakes in outback South Australia. So that's Lake Gardner. And so Magoo and I have been going down there for a few years practicing, and we had an opportunity to challenge the record with the World Speed Trials in March 2018. So Kevin McGee, a legend of a guy, he won the Spanish Grand Prix in 1989. To have someone like him with a lot of experiences, couldn't have done it without him and Paul. So when I sit on the start line, we have a graded track, and so I start off in the middle of the course, right in the middle of the track. Magoo's behind me, switch the radios on, and basically, as we're riding along, he will say, go, 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 if I'm in a straight line in the center, or left or right. And I actually steer the bike using foot pressure. So it's really gentle. And every time we go past the 1 mile mark, he'll say 1, 2, 3. So I know where I am. And of course, when you do a land speed record, once you've done that speed in one direction, then you've got to spin around and come back in the opposite direction and do it again. And they give you an average of the 2 times. So it's really challenging. So really proud to achieve that particular record. And that's, and I'm very proud to be the first blind person in Australia to have a full competition racing license. I'm also the first blind person in the world to get an international competition racing license. So Brad, technically, I could go and enter a World Superbike race or a MotoGP race, technically.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. And another question for you, Ben. The world of sustainable solutions and sustainable mobility is rapidly growing. So can you just talk to us a bit about where you're heading with your future plans in relation to this?
Yeah, excellent. So the blind speed team, we are in the process of designing and going to construct Australia's first electric land speed race car. We've decided to go electric because, you know, we want to be, obviously we need to have a sustainable environment. And we think that our team, building Australia's first electric race car, working to prove Australian ingenuity, innovation. And we think that, you know, we play an important role, not just to inspire people to achieve their dreams, but to inspire people and motivate people to think about electric vehicles and about low emissions or no emissions. And so I guess I call myself the blind man with a vision. And I can see a future where we'll all have electric vehicles, and I'm really looking forward to autonomous vehicles. So I can, so people with a disability can access independent transport themselves. So this is a really exciting step in the journey of having completely emission-free transport.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Ben. So I've had a few questions sent to me directly. So we'll kick it off with that. So what sort of bike did you break the record on, and why was that the weapon of choice?
Very good. So that bike there is a 2019 Kawasaki ZX-10R. Was sponsored by Kawasaki Motors Australia, and BC Performance is a company that prepares all of the Kawasaki Australian superbikes. And so I was very fortunate to have BC Performance and the support of Kawasaki to help build that bike. And it's an absolute weapon. It puts out just over 200 horsepower at the rear wheel, weighs about 200 kilograms. So an awesome bike.
Awesome. Awesome. And, you know, I understand before you were looking into, you know, the electric vehicles to break world records with, you had quite a machine. You know, do you want to just tell us a bit about the Model T?
I haven't told you the latest, Brad. I've recently just sold the Model T and my transporter bus. So I was given the opportunity to purchase a purpose-built land speed race car. It's a 1927 Ford Roadster, little single-seater. It's got a 5-litre Boss motor in it, 540 horsepower. But Brad, the reason why, well, one of the reasons why we've decided to sell that car and invest the money into our new project is that car is so loud, Brad. It is so loud. And when we tried the radio system with my earplugs in, I couldn't hear navigational commands because the engine is so loud.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, that's a technical problem we got to really struggle to overcome. And so after doing some more research, we discovered that electric vehicles are virtually silent, Brad.
Yeah.
And of course, you don't have to worry about changing gears, right? Because it's just one gear from naught to, yeah. And so I was recently approached, given the opportunity to drive an electric land speed race car over in America. So that there's a company called EV West that are making huge waves in this electric car space and electric car conversions. And they constructed a car called Electroliner. An Electroliner on its first trip actually broke the EV2 class record at 218 miles per hour. And then the second run they did 229 miles per hour. So it's a wonderful opportunity. And I'm really keen, you know, to set an EV record here in Australia. The current record for an electric powered motor vehicle in Australia is about 102 or 103 miles per hour.
Wow.
And I reckon we can break that.
Yeah, I've got full confidence in you, mate. We've got another question that's come through. What tools do you use to deal with failure and get back to, pardon the pun, speed?
Yeah, well, as Magoo says, safety and risk management is priority number one. So, he calls it the Qantas Club record. So that's our team I guess, main theme for our team is there's the Corners Club. So no injuries. So far, touch wood, we haven't had any incidences, a couple of close calls. We have a rule in our team that if anyone has a feeling or any, something's not quite right, even if they don't know what it is, we will pull the pin until everyone in our team is completely satisfied that we're confident. We have a briefing session before every ride, so we know exactly what everyone's to do, at what time, when, and how we're going to do it. When we're on the start line, we use a UHF radio. So Kevin McGee's got a UHF radio with a little speaker inside his helmet, and I've got a UHF radio, and I wear rubber ear molds so I can actually listen. And so when we're on the start line and we get the green flag, Magoo will say, Ben, whenever you're ready, and off I go. And my job is to try and ride that bike as straight as possible. Now, what we found that the harder you accelerate, the straighter the bike wants to go. So you basically got to swallow a bit of Dutch courage and have trust in each other, and then off we go. And then Magoo will say, if I'm going straight, he'll just be going, go, 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 go. And I want that all the time because I need that reassurance that the radio is working so I can hear his voice. And then when I hear go, I'm absolutely flat out. If I need to adjust slightly to the left or right, he'll obviously say left or right. But it's also the duration of the left or right. So what he'll do is go left, and as soon as he stops, then I'd take the pressure off that left foot peg.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of practice, Brad. When we're traveling at 250 kilometers an hour, can you imagine we're moving at 75 meters per second? The track is only 30 meters wide. So I've only got 15 meters of, so if I drift more than about 3 meters off the center line, Kevin will just abort the run.
Yeah.
And we will slow down. So.
Yeah, awesome. And just extending on that question, what about the mental tools and resilience in dealing with failures? What sort of strategies do you use to overcome that? We'll just wait a few moments. I think it must just be poor internet connection.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened.
No problems. No problems. Sorry, the question was just about, what sort of mental tools and strategies do you use to deal with failure?
Yeah. So obviously what we're doing is extremely dangerous. So we focus on developing a plan. Everyone knows exactly what our task is, what time, everything that we need to do. I memorize that plan. I focus on executing the plan. We can't allow emotions to get involved. The other thing is, the important thing between Kevin and I is that we have trust in each other's ability, ultimate trust. Basically, my life is in his hands. So overcoming fear of failure, overcoming fear of crashing is prominent in my mind. But once we ride the bike, we know what's at stake. It's a bit like, we use a lot of the technique in sports science. So it's a bit like visualization technique. So I virtually visualize exactly the ride and I memorize it. And then when I jump on the bike, it's about executing that plan. And having resilience, I guess a part of that is resilience is built over time. It's about building, in my case, strong relationships, trust in each other, having a plan, having confidence in each other. And when you execute that plan and you achieve your goals, that gives you the confidence in knowing that if you go about things in a structured, ordered way, working with a team of people that you trust, that helps you build your own personal resilience.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that, mate. And we've got another question here, which is an interesting one. So what inspired the move from 2 wheels to 4 wheels? Was an electric bike record ever considered?
Well, Billy Baxter set the land speed record. He set it back in 2013. It's taken, until 2019 for me to achieve that record. We actually think, Kevin and I think that record, we know it's extremely difficult to achieve. It is really difficult to do, especially when you can't see where you're going. And the Magoo's got to ride 2 bikes. So that is a massive challenge.
Yeah.
We think that record is fairly safe. But what we're going to do is there's a World Speed Trials happening in 2023. Obviously, COVID's had a bit of an impact on international borders being open. So in 2023, we do plan to go and challenge our existing record again on the Kawasaki ZX-10. However, what inspired me, and one of my mentors is a gentleman by the name of Mike Newman. And Mike Newman is a blind guy. Mike Newman holds the current land speed record for the fastest car-driven blindfolded. He did that in a Mitsubishi GTR. He did that in England at 200.4 miles per hour, or about 325 k's an hour. I have another friend of mine in America, Dan Parker, and he's about to challenge Mike's record later this year. And he built his own C7 Corvette. And so that's where the action is. And there aren't too many people in the world that have held a motorcycle land speed record. Actually, nobody in the history of land speed racing has ever held a motorcycle land speed record and a car land speed record. So for me, it's the challenge. It's the challenge of achieving something that no one has ever done before. And it's way beyond my wildest dreams. Fantastic.
And we've got time for one more question. And that question is, if you had one message to say, to any people like yourself, with that vision without vision, what would it be?
Well, my message is to, in my life, my childhood dream was to race motorcycles at the highest level. And I thought that going blind would be a stumbling block. But, sometimes a stumbling block can be a stepping stone. So have a positive attitude, dream big, go for the stars. And if you hit the moon, well, you've done pretty well. So my message there is everyone will have trials and tribulations. There's always challenges. And, if we're going towards a greener global environment and we want to, reduce our emissions, that's a huge challenge for everybody. But I know that with the right attitude, all right, and with a lot of hard work, then we can achieve those dreams that you think are way beyond, what you can achieve. So think big and go for it.
Awesome. Great words as always, Ben. Well, really appreciate having you here. And to everyone in the audience, if you want to know more or you want to ask any questions to Ben, post this event. We will put up details of Ben's website and how to get a hold of him. So thank you very much again, Ben, and hopefully everyone enjoyed the session.
Excellent. Thank you, Brad. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your Solar Car Expo.
Thank you.